Hello and what's up, guys, and welcome back to an episode of the Startup Podcast, an educational podcast where we grant our listeners an interesting insight into various topics in the realm of STEM. And today, we're back at it again with our usual host. My name is Alia, and I'm with my co-hosts Sarah, Nasuha, Rani, Hanis, and Fatini. And in today's episode, we will be talking about applications of bioscience technology in textile production. We'll discuss the ins and out of the said topic and offer listeners an interesting insight into bioscience and textile production. So be sure to listen all the way through for all the details. So is everyone ready? Let's dive in. Firstly, what is biotech? Well, biotech is basically using biological process that is found in live organisms, or we use that said live organisms themselves to make technological improvements and adapt them to a variety of fields. And biotech has been around us for quite some time. The earliest example of biotech usage is fermentation, which is where people back then would use microorganisms to enhance the quality and the flavoring of certain foods. And this was even before microorganisms was even discovered. And then fast forward into modern day Malaysia, we have done some efforts. We have done some efforts in developing our biotech sector. Like for example, during the 1990s, we pledged a large sum to develop our biotech sector. Then in 2005, we introduced the National Biotech Policy, NBP, which aims to make biotech sector one of the leading contributors to our country GDP by 2020. And to add on to that, this country has also dedicated some agencies under MOSTI, Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, as well as research universities to develop and research further our biotech potential. Now, I would like to ask my co-host, Nasuha. So what exactly is biotech? Like, how do we apply it in like the textile production?
Well, Alia, there are a few examples of applications in biotechnology that I could think of. Like, for example, biotechnology is applied for the improvement in natural fibers. How so? Biotechnology has the potential to be a game changer for the development of wholly new polymeric materials, as well as the manufacturing of natural fibers with significantly improved and modified qualities. For instance, velvet cotton was developed to have higher pest resistance compared to the normal cotton crop. Other than that, new sources of polymers, fibers, and ancillary products are being developed using techniques like bacterial fermentation, growth of fungal and microbial fibromasses, and production of fungal pigments. Bacterial cellulose, bacterial polyester, and spider silk are several new sources that can replace existing fibers. Biotechnology is also used for the degradation of azo dyes. Azo dyes used in the textile industry like CI dispersed green and blue are cancerous to both animals and humans due to their resistance to aerobic digestion and are light and oxidizing agents stable. After biological treatment by bacteria, fungus or mixtures of both, the dye toxicity has been reported to be lowered to the allowable limit for release to the environment. The majority of azo dyes are water soluble and quickly absorbed via the skin, increasing the risk of cancer and allergic reaction as well as being an eye irritant and extremely little if breathed or swallowed. So, those are some of the biotechnology applications in the textile industry. Next, while Alia here is very interested in the application of biotech, I am actually curious about the applications in biotextile on the other hand. Perhaps Fatini could explain about it to me and other listeners.
Oh, I am just about to speak up about the application in biotextiles as you are asking, Nasoha. Okay, there are so many applications in biotextiles, but I will highlight three of them, which are biostone washing, bioscoring process, and biopolishing. Firstly, biostone washing is a technique which the cellulose works by releasing the indigo color on the denim. In the 1980s, cellulose enzymes were introduced as a denim washing aid to generate a faded and abraded effect comparable to pumice stones. A small dose of enzyme can replace several kilograms of pumice stones. Hence, when we replace pumice with biostone, it can reduce quantities of stones we are using, save waters, and decrease the treatment costs. Now, we can see the comparison between pumice and biostone. From this slide, we can see that biostone has more advantages than pumice. Going back to the previous slide. Secondly, scoring is a way to eliminate natural and artificial impurities from the fabric, making it cleaner and more absorbent. The enzymatic process called bioscoring allows cotton to be treated under very mild conditions. Due to use of less rinsed water, bioscoring process reduces both effluent as well as water consumption. It also can increase softness and safe environment as we are using less chemical. Last but not least, the biopolishing technique aims to remove short fiber ends that protrude from the yarn surface, reducing the hairiness or fuzz of the materials. The enzyme's hydrolysis action weakens the projecting fibers to the point where a modest amount of physical abrasion is enough to break and remove them. When we're using this technique, it can increase the depth of shades and need of the surfaces. This textiles also will have fine touch, and nearly no bubbles. In this slide, we can see the advantages when we using the techniques that I had mentioned earlier. Next, let's hear from Hanis and Rani about the importance and benefits of application of biotech in the textile industry.
Well, technology is on an unstoppable march to improve the planet and our lives, and it's already well underway in textiles. Biotechnology in textiles has extensive benefits to our economy and to our environment. Let's first discuss the economic benefits. Biotech in textiles may incur large expenses during the initial setup phase, but in the long run, measurable economic advantages and qualitative environmental benefits significantly outweigh such costs. Not to mention, enzymatic biotechnology has many potential applications in the textile manufacturing industry. By using enzymes to replace chemical-based processing methods, firms can save money by consuming less water, power, and fuel while improving their final product. This technology improves competitiveness in global markets.
Biotechnology-driven manufacturing and processing systems, which are basically enzymatic textile processing, use fewer resources and energy. This can ensure greener operations in the textile industry. This is one of the many ways that biotechnology can benefit the environment. It makes certain that greenhouse gas emissions will decrease, that dependence on non-renewable resources will decrease, and also that more renewable resources will be used. Because of biotechnology, like what Fatini said, textile enzymes have improved functionality, profitability, and durability. They are also less toxic, more readily recyclable, and biodegradable in the environment. Clothing, which is essentially the second skin of our body, is of immense importance in human life and has been evolved continuously. But what you might not realize is that plastic, which is a petroleum-based product, is the most used material in the fashion industry right now, which is very bad because they are polluting and unsustainable. That is why some researchers have developed a solution to avoid this by using biodegradable polymers for clothing. Sustainable and renewable biodegradable polymers are abundant. They are eco-friendly and long-lasting alternatives to conventional damaging commercial chemicals and auxiliaries. Antibacterial, UV protection, and flame resistance are just a few of the functional properties that biodegradable polymers have been demonstrated to impart or enhance on cellulosic textiles. As the fabric, chemicals and dyes play a huge role in enabling or derailing a brand's efforts towards ethical, sustainable fashion. Waste from the textile sector is considered dangerous since 95% of it originates from the dyeing process, while another 5% from the rinse process, which are both hazardous waste. Natural dyes, on the other hand, are said to be less polluting. A broad variety of textile functional finishing techniques rely on natural dyes, herbal extracts, and essential oils. They are low cost, non-toxic, renewable, and also sustainable. But most importantly, they have a minimal environmental effect.
Now, let's tackle the impact of chemical-based fabrics on the environment and why biotechnology is the future of sustainability. First, it produces water pollution to our water systems as untreated effluent from dyes is frequently released into our local water systems, releasing heavy metals and other toxicants that can negatively affect the health of animals, plants, and neighboring residents. Second, because of poor ventilation, workers are at risk of inhaling cotton dust and synthetic particles. They are also at risk of developing musculoskeletal disorders due to repetitive motion activities. Lastly, one of the problems with the chemical-based textile industry is that it produces a higher production cost because it consumes more water, fuel, and power. Sarah, what do you think the challenges in applying the biotechnology in our country, Malaysia specifically, and in what way do you recommend or suggest how Malaysia should move past these challenges?
I believe Malaysia has a lot of ongoing challenge in applying the biotech. As we know, Malaysia is not as advanced and as progressive as countries like Japan, United States, and Germany when it comes to their advancement in technology. To kick off, we in Malaysia are lacking in advanced processing and influent treatment technologies at plant and industrial scales. Second, we do find it hard to obtain intellectual property rights and legal. We also short of funding and effective financial mechanism. Furthermore, the lack of knowledge of biotechnology and related aspects among the government officers and decision makers also become a huge problem in this way of applications. To add more, the long gestation period, the poor linkage and interaction between the public and private sectors such as universities, research institutions, and biotech firms, the lack of human capital and the essential skills needed, and the serious environmental consequences that could actually take place due to the application in biotechnology. However, even though Malaysia has this long listed challenge that seems a little bit impossible to push through, I believe there's a way for Malaysia to tackle this challenge and move forward just like other countries. In my take, the government should definitely encourage more collaboration between the private and public sectors. More private sectors are needed to be involved to invest in the subsectors. Moreover, the government have to create a research ecosystem in which most of the applied research and development is industry funded and driven. Lastly, the majority of basic and fundamental R&D also should be sponsored by the government, because if the government itself is not encouraged and support the progressions of this biotechnology, who else could take the place? To conclude, after listening to each takes from the hosts regarding our topics today, we can see that biotechnology itself is extremely significant in the textile industry, as it could be applied in various aspects for better improvement and development. It is dependable, cost-effective, and let alone it is safe for the environment. There has been progress in the biotechnology in the textile industry in Malaysia in the span of 2 years since the National Biotechnology Policy was announced. The progress may seem a little slow, but the results are apparent in the increasing number of Malaysian companies venturing into the application of biotechnology in the textile industry. In order for biotechnology to be sustainable in Malaysia, it should not just be the government or the researchers centric. We need a strong model which is based on multiple attributes. Hence, we need to focus more on accessibility for funding, talent development, government policies, market needs, industry collaboration, and other relevant attributes. These areas have been the focus, but more should be done to strengthen them through better implementation.
Well, I guess that's a wrap up on our topic for today. And before we end, we would like to thank my co-hosts, Fatini, Nasuharani, Hanis, and Sarah, for their time. Join us again on the next episode of Startup. I'm your host, Alia, and have a good day, everyone. Bye!